understanding, there is less fear of death. So I like to consider more about what she said here, because usually we have a conventional idea of death, a situation, a story of death, but we do not really understand the reality, that it is just thinking that is conditioned. Ajahn said, no fear of anything, no me, because all are Dhammas. And death is so close. It can be right now after seeing or hearing. So I find this I think for everyone it's not so easy to understand this. And it is very useful if Ajahn can elaborate more about fear of death.
And I think the point she's stressed as well was that no fear, because when there is understanding that whatever arises is conditioned, then it's just for a moment and then it's gone, like the seeing now. Who is afraid of seeing is conditioned to arise and then it's gone. The pleasant feeling, the unpleasant feeling, the hearing, the bhavanga citas, whatever arises is by conditions and then gone instantly. So when there is not so much thinking and dreaming about situations, like when she mentioned earlier, when there's more firm understanding of realities, there's more understanding that they are conditioned, so less dreading of this or that situation, less fear with the idea of something there and someone there.
And before Ajahn answers Nina, I'd like to just make a couple of quick comments. So fear of death, it depends what we mean by that. It can mean different things for different people. So, for example, there can be fear of the next life, what is to come after death. There can be fear of the time of death, the pain and suffering associated with death. Or there can be fear of what is to be lost at the end of this lifetime. And among the things that are to be lost are, of course, material possessions, but also the identity, by which we are known in this lifetime. And so there are a multitude of different things that can be a basis for fear of death, and each can be considered. But whatever it is, it all boils down, as Sarah has said, to the understanding of the conditioned nature of life, of course, as represented by the present moment. Thanks. So maybe Ajahn is ready to speak on this too.
Also, I think the fear of the unknown, that we do not know what is coming, and that makes us a bit fearsome.
Yes. Yeah, that was the first thing I mentioned, fear of what is to come after death, of the next life. Yeah. But it happens by conditions, good or bad. There's no way of knowing. We don't know what's coming at the next moment in this life, so there can't be the knowing of the next life. There can be a lot of pain and misery and disappointment in even in this life yet to come. Are you there, Ajahn?
Okay. If we don't think about death or the end of life, what about now? The end of seeing and the arising of hearing? Exactly the same. And there are many moments of citta in between seeing and hearing. But there's who know, just no gap between death and birth at all. This moment is this moment. The other moment, who knows? Quicker than seeing and hearing follow each other with and there are so many moments of citta in between. So if we don't think in terms of birth and death, is the arising and falling away of seeing right now is very fearful. And what about the next moment? Hearing just appear after seeing, exactly the same, but they are much far apart. But birth and death is so close, nothing in between at all. Moment of death, then birth, unexpectedly. What would be moment of seeing? What would be moment of hearing? So what would be the moment of death? And then followed by unexpected, as usual, every moment, unexpected moment of whatever arises and falls away. So if you don't think about in terms of death, that it's the end of this life, but what about next life? Everyone think, enjoy that, oh, it's new life, new baby, it's born and so on. So if we don't think about terms of birth and death, it's just like now. And it cannot be known because it's not moment of seeing or hearing, but it's that moment ending, the end of this life. Never be the same at all. And the next one, like just the next, like it's exactly the same as birth of this life. So no thought about fearing or of being afraid of anything now, as it just follow one another. As long as there are conditions for whatever arises, it has to arise. Right now, exactly the same. So it doesn't matter at all whether it is moment of experience the unknown object and then seeing, hearing, just like now. Depending on conditions, whether it experiences the pleasant object or the unpleasant object, that's all. It's not fearful at all because it's just like now. Anything can happen suddenly, so death can come anytime, followed by unexpected life. But it has to be seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, just as every moment now in life. Is it fearful now? The moment of death is just like seeing right now, falls away unknowingly, and then followed by next one, instantly. And if you think like this more and more, it's not fearful at all. No fear. Just like now, it can be birth after death. Just like now, unexpected moment of seeing or hearing or thinking, or by conditions. And it's not this moment. The moment of seeing is not there. The moment of hearing is not there. The end of life, it's not yet the end, but it has to keep on by conditions, changing all the time, never to arise again.
And Nina, you mentioned fear of the unknown. So what is it about the unknown that is a basis for fear? Is it the fear of painful bodily feeling, for example, or is it the fear of being a certain kind of person, or in the realm into which one is born? Or what is the fear about the future, unknown future?
It's that we like to know everything and control, and that is accumulated and it is conditioned, and that conditions fear. So even fear is conditioned. But we have to consider this more, I know.
As seeing die, never to arise again. Hearing, everything arises and falls away, exactly the same as death moment and birth moment. But they are not known. We fear what appears, but that which doesn't appear, fear of what? It's only thinking, kusala thinking, with attachment and aversion, expectation, just in a moment by conditions. So no matter it's the same as what we thought or not the same by conditions at all. Unexpected birth and unexpected moment of death or unexpected. No matter it is the seeing or hearing, always unexpected each moment. And only whatever appears can be studied, can be known little by little, as it's not there. Just a very short moment, unexpected how short it is, arising and falling away. So no fear of what arises and falls away. And death is unknown moment. Birth is unknown moment. What now appears must be through one of the 6 doorways. That's all. So now, fear of visible objects, sound, or no fear. Whatever is there is so very short. And the unpleasant object can appear at moment of seeing, but the object of birth and death does not appear to be object of fear at all. That's why dosa is dosa, loba is loba, is there by conditions, and then gone. Nothing is lost at all. Nothing lasts. Even moment of birth and death. Exactly the same as right now. Without thinking that it is the end of this life. And what about the beginning of next life? Never end. Only the idea, the thought about that. For example, once we have been born, where fear comes, when it comes, see, it's not moment of birth, it's not moment of death. It's moment of experiencing what is there and thinking about it. This moment of seeing, not the moment of birth or death. And in between, there are moments of unknown objects. That can be moment of death and birth by conditions. But as condition is not ready to be the moment of death and birth, it's moment of just seeing again, hearing again by conditions. That's all gone all the time. This moment of experiencing what is there and then gone. Each moment is the same, just arise and falls away unexpectedly by conditions. Right now, exactly the same, but it's not the unknown object of death and birth yet. That's all. It is just as short as moment of abundance, but different function, different moments.
Had my microphone muted, and because now we hear there is seeing, we hear there is thinking, we hear there is visible objects seen and so on, but because the understanding is not firm enough, there's clinging so much to I, what will happen to me, what will happen in this situation or that situation, all because of the clinging to someone, to something there. So understanding a little more about how it is just seeing now, it is just hearing, just moments of thinking arising and falling away. This is the way that the understanding becomes firmer and firmer, less clinging to I and what will happen to me. And that means less thinking with fear about this and that situation. But it has to develop naturally, but at least to appreciate that life is just at this moment, at the moment of seeing and hearing, no fear, at moments of any kusala, no fear. But because of the clinging, the strong clinging, there's bound to be lots of worry, lots of anxiety, lots of fear following, because there's always clinging to that which has gone already, that doesn't last at all. So it's good to know what the real problem is. The problem is not the death, it's not this situation or that, but it's the clinging to I and this idea and this story again and again, not understanding the truth about life at this very moment. Good to know, I think.
So if this moment is moment of death, it's gone. See? And then next moment can be anything. After that, new life, the same of new moment or next moment. Exactly. But it changed the accumulation, not to be that personality again, only once in samsara. And that must be conditioned for whatever to arise on and on endlessly, as long as there are conditions for whatever arises, it arises. That's all. So without understanding, it's the fear of that which is not known. Just fear, because it's not known. It's that arising and falling away instantly, no gap in between this life and next life. It cannot be known. So just fear of that which cannot be known. So in truth, it fears the object of thinking.
And last week we talked about the development of understanding leading to the guarding from wrong understanding, the guarding from akusala. But it takes time to develop. But it is the only way. It's only through understanding that gradually there's a little more guarding from thinking with fear, clinging so strongly, and so on. But it cannot be overnight. It has to develop very gradually. Only the anagami has no more fear at all.
And I'd just like to add, for the benefit of the discussion we had last week about the gochara, I think it was Azita who raised the question that the Araka gochara is just a reference to a function of understanding as it is developed, and which we've already known about, that one of the functions of sati is to guard the sense doors, sati accompanied by panya. So in that sense, it's not something new. It's just a different way of referring to a level of understanding of which we already knew about.
You have any more comments on this topic, Nina?
One has to consider this more, and when Panya is still weak, it's a difficult subject because we cling to self and what happens to self. And that is always the core of the problem, really, the clinging to ourselves. And it's good to be reminded by Ajahn of this.
It's not just fear of death, it's fear of what will happen if I don't have my lunch, or the helper doesn't come, or I have to move out of the flat, or I get sick, or there's no Zoom discussion, or it's endless. If I have a fall, and it's the same for everyone. So it's just conditions for dosa to rise again and again because of clinging to what is experienced now, and what is experienced, the pleasant feeling, whatever is conditioned, falls away. So that's why we talked about how it's not just the unpleasantness and the dosa and the painful feeling that's dukkha, but the pleasant feeling when everything is just as we like it, when what is seen now is just as we appreciate, what is heard is the sounds of the Dhamma and so on. But this is dangerous too, because it's gone instantly, and then there will be the unpleasant feeling and the painful feeling again and again. So we can see how whatever arises in life is dangerous and dukkha, and that's the way it is. Nothing lasts at all. And the clinging to self, the clinging to this and that pleasant situation, it's conditioned. It has to be like that. But there can be a little more understanding that this is the cause of the problems, and the pleasant feeling as well as the unpleasant feeling is dangerous and dukkha and so impermanent and anatta, not in anyone's control. Nothing can last at all. Does anyone else have any topic they would like to bring up? Sita, do you have anything you'd like to bring up today? Or anyone?
Is anyone fear of to be born again? Is there anyone fear to be born again?
I'd like to suggest an answer to that, Ajahn. I think everyone wants to continue living, but at the same time, there is fear about the uncertainty of what that will be.
So it can be right now. What would be next? So fear is unreality. And at moment of seeing, it's not moment of fear at all. So at moment of thinking about this and that, they can be thinking with fear of such and such. So it's just a moment of thinking. That's all. And it's gone. Each moment arises and falls away. Instantly. Unknowingly too. So it was wasting time to fear because it's not there now. It's time to doesn't mind at all. When will it be? By conditions, just unknowingly, unexpectedly, and then new life. New life means new seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, like this life. Keep on arising and experiencing. No tiredness yet, not seeing the danger. Why it has to be an endless moment of arising and falling away, what fall, when everything's gone, instantly, unknown. It's just object of thinking, wishing, clinging, that's all. Why it's not be as the same one that we are now attached to it. That's all. The object of attachment changes, but the object is there, arising again and again and again.
Yes, Ajahn, thank you. I think the fear is because of some dreaded or unpleasant thing, or I won't get something that is important or what have you. But it's actually kusala thinking, and fear arises so much of the time.
Useful or useless moment. To fear. But it's a reality. It's real. It's conditioned. That's why understanding whether it's useful to have more or should it be less. Not wasting time thinking about it. But there can be moment of beginning to understand the truth. No one can escape death at all. No one can escape from birth at all, because no one there at all. It's what is there as it is by conditions on and on and on. As long as there are conditions, clinging of, because of ignorance, endlessly thinking about that. Never arise again, or the same object at all. Just arises with ignorance and clinging to whatever is there in different manners, different aspects. Nothing left. All gone. Even memory, no matter what, all gone. And then arise and gone all the time. No one there at all. For a different moment of experiencing what is there with ignorance and attachment is the core of life.
Yes, Tanajan, thank you so very much. When the fear is there, there's a tendency to get caught up in what it is that is feared, rather than understanding fear as a Dhamma, the reality in the moment, and simply having understanding of the characteristic of fear, its nature. And it's there, arises so much of the time. The ignorance, the fear, and the clinging, like a ball and chain that I drag everywhere with me.
So now we just understand it in words about it, but the nature of the truth of it is there, that can be known little by little. For example, there must be the reality, which is the chief of experiencing, but no attention at all to that characteristic, that reality which is there even right now or anytime, because no understanding of the truth that actually what is there taken for I see and I hear, because of ignorance of the truth of what is there, that it's conditioned to appear because it arises and is gone, never be the same, never arise again at all. Learn to understand the truth. So it let go, whatever the object of attachment, even at that very moment, that is not permanent at all. It's gone already. What is left is ignorance and attachment. A little more from moment to moment. What about the understanding of the benefit of the precious of understanding what is there as it is, even theoretically or intellectually, but it can be stronger and firmer when there is more consider and hearing about it again and again and again. What is that? It just when it's there. It's just when it's there only. When it's not there, it's gone. And we think that it's not there, but in truth, it's not there at all. Very surely in split seconds.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you most kindly, Ajahn. It just seems as if it's the same every time, but you remind us that each reality, each Dhamma arises only once in samsara, and then it's gone, never to arise again. The fear is there, then completely separate, it's gone, and then completely separately, a body sensation, for example, a bodily feeling, Vedana, is there. And it's gone completely. What's familiar is a characteristic common to that, the akusala, the thinking. Thank you. Most kindly, Tanajan.
So it has to be there with the conditions to arise, to be there, to appear, and then gone. And the more there is the understanding, even it's so very little at a time, but it is building up little by little as it has been accumulated from moment to moment, years and years ago. That's why it's so useful to just have conditions for such thinking to arise, to be stronger, little by little, but without expectation, beyond expectation that nobody can do anything at all because now it's working its way like that. So very gradually develop from hearing, considering, understanding the truth little by little until it's so natural to understand whatever arises as it is. Like now, exactly like now, unknowingly, gradually, so very secretly, from moment to moment, the only way, understanding a little more until it's strong enough, firm enough, to condition moment of beginning to understand what is there now when it appears only. Great patience, but the truth is there. The characteristic of each reality is there. The citta is there, not the cetasikas. Even the experiences object, the same object at the same time, but different function. So if there's no understanding of that which is the chief of experiencing from birth to death, each life, each moment, how can it be the moment of letting go, the clinging to that as I anytime, gradually, until the moment of attending to the characteristic of what appears now begin by conditions, more or less, little by little. But it's there to be known. So whatever is there in life, when it's unknown, it cannot be eradicated, as there are same conditions for it to arise.
Yes, Ajahn, there is no self to do anything, to eradicate anything, and it arises because of conditions and falls away immediately. Thank you most kindly, Tanajan.
And we can see that what we were afraid of yesterday was nothing. Maybe we've even forgotten what it was we were afraid of. Or last month, like Nina was concerned about having to move out because of the asbestos situation, but it's all gone. Nothing to be afraid of. So whatever we're afraid of is just for a moment and then gone. But the tendency, the habit, the accumulation is there. So it's bound to arise again and again. And back to Jan's question about whether anyone fears to be born again or whether anyone's born. It's only the wrong idea that it's I that is to be born again. So therefore, I fear that I will be born again and I don't know where. So it's all the idea of someone that dies, someone that is born. No understanding of dhammas, no understanding of what is conditioned at this moment. So that's why it is so very useless. And as Eve said, when there's the idea of I wanting to get something important, again, it's all about the wrong understanding of something that can be gained. What about seeing now? It's not something. What about hearing now? It's not something, but something to be gained. The house, the money, the friend. It's just dreams and fantasies, not understanding anything about this moment. That's why it conditions the worry, the fear, endlessly about losing this friend, this house, this place, this situation, all about me and something again and again. So the only remedy is understanding, and the understanding has to be about now, what appears now. It's the only way that gradually there will be less fear about this and that. Maeve, do you have anything you would like to bring up today?
Thank you, Sarah. Not at the moment. I'll maybe later. Thank you, Sarah.
Good to see you. I think we haven't seen you for a little while.
Yes.
No fear now, see, all by conditions.
Is the thing that I like to consider more that Ajahn explained last week, that the three gocharas, maybe I should explain first what gochara is for those who are newcomers, the different levels of understanding, how they develop together from beginning to end, because this is a subject I did not quite get yet.
So shall we talk again about the gochara?
Upanishaya gochara, that is
Yes.
the beginning. And then
Then
it starts from akusala is, and then there is the Upanibandha gochara in the last phase of understanding. But three phases of understanding, but they develop from the beginning to the end together.
we have to understand so clear from the very beginning that what is there has to be there by conditions. No one can stop whatever is there to fall away or to arise and fall away again and again and again. That's why there are two different kinds of realities. One cannot experience anything like hardness and softness, and without that, which is different, quite different from that which cannot experience. It is a reality which arises and experiences an object, no matter what we call it. But there are so many different kinds of characteristics of the reality which arises and experiences the object. But one main reality is right now there. That which arises and experience, that which appears. So now, at moment of seeing, that which appears is experienced by that reality, the one which arises to experience it, no matter it's what appears, red or green or sound or what appears cannot be there. Appearing without that which experiences it arises and experiences that. So what is experienced is, we can use the term aramana, any moment of the reality which arises to experience, there must be aramana, that which is experienced. So what is the difference between aramana and gojara? Because the object, which is usually the object of that which arises and falls away again and again and again, more than other reality, more than other aramana, the object which is experienced, it has to be the gojara. You can say the object or that which they're seeing directly, experience it, not going away from it at all, not turn away from it at all. So the aramana of the seeing has to be the gojara only for seeing. So the gojara is, if we talk about a place, we go to that place very often. It can be a swimming pool or anywhere or school or whatever, rather than other place. That's why the citta arises and experience that very object more than the other. So that which is the object more than the other, experienced by citta again and again very often, is gojara. So it means that the very rare one is not gojara, and the very object that is there all the time, or almost all the time, or more than the other, is gojara. That's why it depends on moment of experiencing what is gojara and what is aramana. They are all ramana, but what is more and what is less. That's why we use the term gojara. Anyone who hasn't heard about the truth of this moment at all cannot have that object as the other object, because it hasn't heard about that at all. But after hearing it, it depends on whether there is attention or confidence or understanding the very precious moment of understanding which hasn't arisen before at all. And if that object is very, what you'd say, object of wanting to have more, to understanding more, it is the gojara for that citta, for that personality, which develop the moment of understanding or attracted to that object more often. So when we talk about the upa nisaya gojara, we don't talk about the general object, but we talk about what is gojara for what citta. For example, for seeing, it has to have only the visible object as its object. It cannot go away. It cannot be attracted to other objects because its function is just to arise and experience that which impinges on the iris. No matter from eons and eons ago, never change at all. So that is the gojara for the chakunyana and whatever citta experiences it. So now, when we talk about the upa nisaya gojara, nisaya is the support, so the aramana would support the understanding to grow, to develop, to be clear, and so on. It's the gojara, which hasn't been before when there's no hearing about the truth. So each word of the Buddha about the truth is gojara from that person who see the value, the precious of it, to develop as again and again and again, beginning to be the object of attention more and more, little by little, to not forget it. It's time to listen or to think or to consider it by conditions. So that is the nisaya, which will becoming the natural support to the object of thinking, considering, and understanding little by little. So when we talk about the three gojara, we talk about the object of understanding as it becomes a habit, natural habit, to listen, to understand, to see the benefit or the prejudice of understanding what is there now, see. So it depends on the accumulation, whether it is Upanishya Pachaya enough or Upanishya Kojara. The object is there, not turn away from it, but having more time to consider it, thinking about it, to protect from akusala as usual, as already natural as before, because it becomes to understand, it begin to understand that what is more precious in life or each moment. So when it's wrong, it protects the moment of from moment of akusala, because of Cetasikas like Chanda, Viriya, and so on are there as the support to have it to be guarded or no more condition for akusala to be at that moment because of this araka kojara. So the satipatthana is the meaning of all three kinds of upa or kojara, upanishya kojara, araka kojara, and upanibandha kojara, because it begins to have more time for it until it runs happy. Upanishya kojara, protect it from akusala, and then condition moment of having more time or again and again to think about it as upanibandha. Otherwise, how can there be moment of attending or being aware with understanding of any characteristic of what is there now? See, with our conditions, there cannot be such moment at all. It has to begin to be Upanishya Kojara until at that moment, the moment of kusala, with understanding, no matter what level it is, intellectually or directly, by araka. Akusala cannot arise at that moment because of understanding the benefit of the precious moment of Upanishya Kojara, araka. And the more understanding of the truth, condition moment of beginning to attend to the characteristic of what is there now, as it hasn't been attended before, little by little. And that is upanibandha, just being bound or tied or conditioned moment of understanding it little by little. So the 3D kojara means the development of satipatthana, not as other kojara like the visual object or sound or whatever is there, or any other aramana, which is not the sound or the sight. So there mean not just one meaning of kojara. Kojara is that with citta, experience more and more and more and more, and only that as kojara, like the object of seeing is kojara of seeing, and the sound is the kojara of hearing, and the smell is kojara of the smelling moment, and so on. And until it is different from usual, from daily life, to understand, to begin to understand the truth of what is there as kojara, to be upanishya, to understanding what is there is just that which is seen. So even the word, only that which is seen, is it there now, not as anything, just as it's seen and then gone. That is the absolute truth, the ultimate truth of what is there at the moment of seeing. And that is Upanishya Pojara, when it is more and more, and it's Araka Pojara, when the Apusan does not arise or cannot arise at that moment, and Upanibana, just consider what is there, little by little, until it becomes the object that is then more than the other object as before. But it takes quite a long time to be Upanibana Gocharan. And in a day, is it more time to Araka from Akusla? Or there's still times for Akusla as before? Because the Upanishya Gocharan is not enough to protect moment of Kusla to arise without Akusla. So daily life and understanding is then as from understanding or ignorance is there as usual as before. And Kojara is there any moment when there is moment of experiencing an object. And the object is there as Kojara.
Yes, I think, Nina, as we know, without Upanishya Gotra, there cannot be Araka Gotra, and without Araka Gotra, there cannot be Upanibandha Gotra. But they develop together, meaning that even when, for example, the moments of Araka Gotra, when there is the protecting from akusala because of the developed understanding, but in between there is Upanishya Gotra, wise considering of the object to be known, and more the habit of understanding sound or visible object, not just the common ordinary Gotra without understanding. And when the understanding has become so habitual and firm that it conditions the Upanibandha Gotra, the object that is directly understood, but in between there must be countless moments of Upanishya Gotra and Araka Gotra. So this is why they develop together. So there has to be the more and more wise considering about the truth all the time, even for the Arahats, still Upanishya Gotra when there isn't direct understanding or higher levels of wisdom.
But for Upanibandha, I'm inclined to think it's so far away.
And that is the only way to let go clinging, attachment, hoping, wishing to gain such understanding without the proper conditions for whatever arises, even understanding at different stages.
And even at this moment, the Upanishya Gotra, whether it's far away or near, it just depends on conditions and accumulations at this moment. Who knows now at the next moment whether the conditions for wise considering of the object that has become the habit of considering wisely, or who knows whether there is got fear of death. It all depends on conditions, what arises. But I think there can be a little more understanding of what is considered truthfully or rightly again and again. And that's why we have the discussions, so that it does become the habit more and more to consider more and more about different realities rather than just endless situations, people and things as before.
And as far as Gochara Sampajana, about this right understanding, where does this lie in this field of in this? How is it different from the others? I mean, I do get that. Pardon me, the development of understanding does guard against a kusala, but I was wondering about the terminology, the difference in meaning, please.
Would make a quick comment on that, Eve. And I just wanted to give first some general context to the discussion on Gochara, because the literal meaning of Gochara is resort. And the Buddha's description of the three Gocharas is a response to the question, what is the proper resort of a bhikkhu? And what the Buddha is saying in describing the three Gocharas is that the proper resort of a bhikkhu is whatever is the object of understanding. I mean, the conventional meaning of resort is the place at which, or the people with which a person spends their time. So in the conventional sense, of course, a monk should not associate with certain kinds of people. He should not go to certain places of entertainment, and that kind of thing. And that is one level at which the Gochara or resort can be understood. But in terms of absolute realities, the only real resort for a bhikkhu's mind is whatever can be object of understanding at the present moment. And understanding comes at different levels, as we know. And so for the purpose of this teaching, the Buddha divided understanding into three levels of Upanibandha, Araka, and Upanibandha. And got that mixed up. Anyway, the three Gocharas are three ascending levels of understanding. In the context of Gochara Sampajanya, was it Eve? This is a different context in that it's not part of the same teaching. It's not the same instance of teaching as where the Buddha mentions what is the proper conduct and resort for a bhikkhu. And he talks about conduct also in terms of absolute realities and resort in terms of absolute realities. So Gochara Sampajanya is one of the Sampajanyas, and there are, I forget how many, but again, there's like an ascending level of Sampajanyas, which are a kind of level of understanding. And one of those understandings is understanding of the resort, which also, I think, means the circumstances that are conducive to understanding. If I'm not mistaken, perhaps Sarah can add some more on that.
I think that when we're talking about the Sampajanyas, we're talking about the development of Satipatthana and the object of direct understanding, which is the Upanibandha Gochara. And as Jan mentioned, all three Gocharas, the Upanisya Gochara, the Araka, Upanibandha, they're all about the development of Satipatthana without the wise considering again and again of the object to be understood, there cannot be the moments of satipatthana, the direct understanding. And in that instance, the sati sampajanya, the right understanding and awareness of the gotra, is the understanding of the reality that has been developed through the development of the Upanishya gotra and the Araka gotra, the object that has become the common object of understanding again and again. So I think it all ties in. It's all about satipatthana, the development of the direct understanding. But as Nina said, it has to develop very gradually. And if there's any wishing or expecting or even trying to have the habit of thinking of this or that reality as gotra, then it's not the way, because that's just the accumulation of clinging and the object of clinging again and again. Go ahead, Carmen.
Yes, I'm a bit lost with the gochura, and it's also I'm a bit behind. But I read your comments on your posts, because what is now the difference? And it's a super beginner question, but I have no clue. What is the relation between the gochuras, the three different gochuras, and we have pariyati, patipati, and pativeda, and all these others. How do you say in English, the levels, how we divide the levels of understanding?
So they are looking at different aspects with regard to the development of understanding. So when we're talking about the gotras, the resort, the place that's commonly gone to, here it is the object that is habitually the object of understanding. And as everyone has stressed, gotra just means object. But when we're talking about Upanishya gotra, it is the object that is habitually the object of understanding and wise considering. I think you're familiar with the word Upanishya because you have studied about conditions, Upanishya, Pachya. So it means the decisive support, the one that is commonly the support, in this case, for understanding. For example, hardness, if there has been considering again and again that now it's only hardness that is touched, there is a condition for more wise reflecting that no matter whether eating lunch, no matter whether going to the swimming pool, no matter at work, it is just hardness that is touched that we find important. Without that hardness, no idea of the table or the computer or this or that. It's just hardness. So hardness may be the object that is the Upanishya gotra, the object that is habitually the object of wise consideration and understanding. This is why we talk a lot about different realities, seeing now. By hearing again and again, it is just seeing which sees, not I, not someone, not anything, just the citta which experiences what is visible now. So reflecting and considering again and again that life is just a moment of seeing now. It is a condition for seeing to become the Upanishya gotra, the object that is conditioned for understanding even now, at this very moment. So we think of the situations we're fearful about, the next life or at work or when sick, but actually it's just seeing, no matter now or then or any time, just the reality. So there can be firmer and firmer confidence developed that it is just seeing which sees, nothing to be afraid of at all. So this is Upanisya Gochara. And through the continual development of understanding with confidence, it is a condition for there to be less fear when otherwise it would arise by thinking of the ill situation or the death of a friend or this or that. So it starts to give protection from akusala gradually, little by little. And that understanding with firm confidence of life as it is now leads to the direct understanding. The object becomes the object of direct understanding by becoming the habit firmer and firmer to be known. So Upanibandha refers to the binding, the anchoring, like the anchor of a boat that's put down in the water. It becomes firmly established to understand the object, the sampajanya gochara, the object of direct understanding. So I think it shows how it's all through the habit, the development of the accumulation of understanding from beginning to end, on and on. And that's why the hearing about different realities is so important to condition the wise reflecting and understanding about what life is now. Life now is not about being born in another life or going to work or the having to move house or the family problems. It's just seeing now, just hardness that is touched now, hearing at this moment. Gradually there can be more understanding, conditioning, the anchoring right here and now. So it's just what we've always talked about, the development of understanding in stages, but the emphasis is on the object of understanding that becomes more and more of a habit to be known. Is that a little clearer, Carmen?
Let me listen to it again because I'm still a bit struggling, because in Pariyati Pati 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 Veda, it's also about the object. Because in one case it is, it's within, we see it with intellectual understanding, and then we see it, so it's so. But I have to think about it.
It's just a different way of presenting the truth about this moment, no matter whether we're talking about khandas, no matter we're talking about dhatus, no matter we're talking about the noble truths, no matter we're talking about Pariyati Pati 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 Veda, about Suttamaya Panya, Chintamaya Panya, Bhavanamaya Panya. It's all about the truth to be known at this moment, just different ways of presenting the truth to consider in different aspects.
Yes, and my mind always tries to make connections, relations.
Okay.
Maybe that's the confusion.
So the thinking now about connections, the thinking can become the object of, can become the Upanisya Gochara, the object that's commonly appearing that can be understood. Before we heard about the Buddha's truths, then there was thinking about connections and this and that, but no understanding that the reality is just the thinking, not my thinking, not anyone's thinking, just moments of chitta thinking about this and that, one after the other. So the thinking can become the object of understanding even now, because it's the common object that can be known. So it's always about this moment and what appears now, even when thinking about the connections. That is the habit of thinking about, no matter whether it's the habit of thinking about death or the habit of thinking about connections or the habit of thinking about this or that. The thinking itself is real and can be understood even now. And it's gone at each moment. Moments of seeing and hearing, no thinking about connection. So it's just a moment of thinking and then gone again and again. So the Upanishya Gochara has to be this moment of understanding that object which is commonly appearing.
Yes. Let me.
And just
Sorry.
I was
No,
going
please
to go
go.
back to an earlier, but before you come in. But so if you have something more to say on that,
No.
then please
No,
say
no,
it. Okay. So I was just going to go back to Eve's question about Gochara Sampajanya. And if you're still there, Eve, to explain the context of that. In the Satipatthana Sutta, there is a section on practicing clear comprehension. And in the commentary, it mentions there are 4 kinds of clear comprehension. That is the Sati Sampajanya. And one of those is Gochara Sampajanya. And the 4 kinds are comprehension of purpose, Sataka Sampajanya, comprehension of suitability, Sabaya Sampajanya, comprehension of resort, Gochara Sampajanya, and comprehension of non-delusion, Samoha Sampajanya. And obviously the comprehension of non-delusion being Panya, of course, that is the highest level of Sampajanya. But the other 3 are also relevant, and the commentary gives a description of the first 2, comprehension of purpose and suitability. And then on the subject of resort, comprehension of resort, it says that the going on the arms round of one who has thus comprehended the first 2, that is purpose and suitability, after leaving and taking up just that resort among the 38 subjects of meditation, called the subject of meditation after his own heart. This is the clear comprehension of result. So again, we can see right away that it's referring to the object of understanding, either of the samatha level or the vipassana level. And there's a note here that says that Gochara literally means pasturing ground. This word is applied to the wandering for alms of a bhikkhu. So that's one way of describing the proper resort of a monk, that is going for alms round on a daily basis. And also to the subject of meditation in the sense of the locus, the sphere, range, or scope of contemplative action. So it's the mental object, the object of the mind, as well as the wandering for alms, going for alms. And there's further detail here, but that's just to explain that Gochara Sampajanya is in the context of the 4 kinds of clear comprehension. And it's not, so it also means object, the same as when we have the 3 Gochara, which are the 3 ways of explaining the proper object of mind for the monk. That is to say, the object of understanding at different levels. Thanks.
Jonathan, where are
Yes,
you?
Azita.
Where are you reading that from?
Well, you know that booklet, The Way of Mindfulness by Soma Terra, that has the Satipatthana Sutta and the commentary. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of it, but I don't have it.
Okay. I can let you have a soft copy of it if you like.
Oh, that would be great. And speaking of the Satipatthana Sutta, I started again today
Oh, yes.
to have a read. And so, and in the little book, dictionary on Sampajanya, it does go into that first, on the body, the clearly consciousness of going and coming and that. So what you've just mentioned was quite complex. So, yeah. So thank you. So way of mindfulness.
The Way of Mindfulness
Mindfulness.
by Soma, S-O-M-A, Somatera.
Somatera. Okay. Look, I could probably just read it. It's online, no?
Yes, it is. I think there's a copy on Access to Insight.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It can be downloaded.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much, Jonathan.
You're welcome, Eve.
Yes, but I think in the case of when we're talking about the Satipatthana Sutta and the development of Sampajanya, yes, Gotra literally means the place of domain, but in this case, it's where the chitta goes, the object that is habitually the object, the aramana of the chitta. And when it is Gotra Sampajanya, it is the understanding of the object of awareness and the object that appears through one of the sense doorways that becomes the domain or the resort of understanding and sati of the Eightfold Path. So whatever we read has to be considered carefully, because when it's the Buddha talking about the different resorts and the development of Sampajanya, it is the development of the path that is being referred to. We just have a little bit of time. Perhaps Ajahn would like to add more on any of these points or topics.
We heard a lot about everything. Where is it and what is it? See, not the word, but the truth. So we have to begin again and again to consider what we have heard. For example, what is there now? Is there now? What is it? See, all about what we have heard before. But where is it and when is it and what is it? Each word about it. Is there the word? Is there a word? See, even very simple question. What is the truth that can be done instantly? What's the word? Where's the word? Is there a word? What is it? Is it that what we have talked about? Many pages about all this, which is there, to learn to understand the truth of what is there. Even the word kojara or aramana or sati or sampajanya, where are they and what are they? If you don't know exactly the characteristic and the truth when it's there to be known, there cannot be any understanding of what we have heard at all, no matter about what. But understanding the truth, and there can be the understanding of what is there, the meaning of the resort. See, who goes and what's the resort? It's not just a word, but what is the truth? Is there now, this moment? What arises, you usually think that it has to go somewhere. But what is meant by to travel or to roam, or to visit, or to travel. See, it's as much as one can begin to understand. But in truth, it's not like that. It doesn't need time to go to whatever, whether it's resort or not the resort. That's why I have to learn the truth of what is there when it's there. For example, right now, is there world? Is there a world? Is there any world? We used to understand what is the world, what the world is, but what is it in truth, absolute truth? It doesn't need any word to just realize it, but without word, how can we know that what we're talking about? So there must be that which is that we are talking about. So now, let's consider again the world. What is it? See, even one thinks that one lives in the world, and there are many worlds, many other universes, so and so on. But what is it in truth? In truth, what is that? From moment to moment, without the enlightenment of the Buddha, no one knows the absolute truth, the ultimate truth. Nobody can change. It's there to prove that it's there as it is. So just what is the world and what is taken to be, or to be taken as a world? What is it? Is there no world? Or is there a world? Or what we are talking about? The absolute truth of it, the characteristic of it, which appears as it is, but is not known as it is. Is there something? Is there anything? Now, to be truthful to the truth, such a barrier. The truth is there now appearing, but who knows what kind of the truth is there? Because they are different. What is what? Can it be known? Or even it's there now appearing, no understanding of its nature at all. Is that right? This is the beginning of understanding of what is there without the words of the Enlightened One. How can there be such idea of thinking, considering about the truth of it? Because what appears, it's not as it is at all. Even the word, what appears, is not as it is, as it truly is at all. Is that right? Or not right? Without the teachings of the Enlightened One, how can there be such understanding of the ultimate truth of what is there now, as we talk about, whether it is Sakti or Sambhajanya or Kojara or whatever, herb.
Okay, I think we can discuss more about this topic next week. So thank you very much, Jan and everyone. And see you next week. Sawadee ka.